Today's episode of BizJet TV, we're going to be talking about the mysterious crash of a Cessna Citation II off the Latvian coast. Just happened the other day on Sunday, 4th of September. So, if you're new to BizJet TV, welcome to the channel here on YouTube and also on Rumble now. So those of you that have subscribed already, please go over to Rumble and subscribe there too. My name is Fabrizio Polimi, Aviation Advisor. Lots of content here on business aviation. So let's get into the meat of today's episode. So, Cessna Citation II took off from Jerez in Spain on its way to Cologne, Germany. This aircraft was built in 1979. It was a 42-year-old airplane. So I know what you're thinking now. It was an old airplane. That's why it crashed. Wait, let's look into more about this accident. Now, there were 4 passengers on board. The owner was flying the airplane. He's also the owner of a company called Quick Air, which is an air ambulance company based in Austria. They operate Lear 35s and Lear 55s. This Citation II, however, was operated privately. Now, it's a single pilot airplane. So the owner was flying on his own. 3 passengers in the back were his wife, his daughter, and the daughter's boyfriend. They were flying at 36,000 feet, or flight level 360 as it's called, and air traffic control were calling them, and there was no reply. So what air traffic do when they call an airplane and there's no reply, after a few minutes, they scramble Air Force jets up. The Air Force jets were scrambled to go and see what's happening. So 2 Air Force jets arrived up at 36,000 feet, side by side, looking inside the airplane to see if people were still awake. And there was nobody in the cockpit. So, interesting. And then they saw a passenger in the cabin doing this. And then what happened? The aircraft ran out of fuel and crashed into the Baltic Sea off the coast of Latvia at 8,000 feet a minute. So, apparently the aircraft was having some pressurization problems. I don't know if it was having pressurization problems on this particular flight or had some pressurization problems in the past. This is something that if you're buying an older airplane, you need to make sure the pressurization system is sound. But the fact that the pilot wasn't in the cockpit tells me that it was a pilot incapacitation. Now, there's been a lot of pilot incapacitation incidents happening over the last couple of years. I wonder why. Comment below. Let's get the conversation going. And this has been happening with the airlines. It's been happening on private aircraft. In this case, airplane was flown single pilot. Now, you may have seen me cover the Cirrus Vision Jet and the TBM 940. These 2 aircraft have a special feature on board. The new Garmin avionics have got AI built into them, that if suddenly the pilot is incapacitated, the passenger can press a button, and it's literally a button, and the airplane will land itself at the nearest suitable airport. So this is interesting that new technology has, and that could have prevented this airplane from crashing. Another preventative measure could have been having another pilot on board. So if one pilot is incapacitated, they could pull him out of his seat, try and give him CPR or oxygen or resuscitate him or whatever. But in the meantime, the other pilot can take over and land at the nearest suitable airport. Now, they were at 36,000 feet, so there was plenty of space to be able to glide in to an airfield and land. There's plenty of airfields there within range. So, you know, that could have been done. But I think what happened here was pilot incapacitation. So that's the lesson that we learn from this particular accident. Sad, you know, all 4 occupants died. Obviously, you know, crashing into the sea at 8,000 feet a minute, you're not going to survive. So that's what happened there on this particular situation. Now, there have been, and you're probably thinking now, and some of you were thinking of commenting, there's been a lot of citation crashes over the last 2 or 3 years. Now, of course, with lockdowns and that, a lot of people have thought, well, it's very difficult now to fly with the airlines. Lots of flights have been cancelled, or no longer certain routes have been dropped. And so if I'm living in an outback place and I want to fly from A to B to C to D, it's convenient for me to have my own aircraft. Now, Citation, like this one that just crashed, it's cheap to buy. It's $300,000 or $400,000. And I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of Citations have crashed. Not because they're cheap to buy, but because people say, well, I can buy a jet for $300,000 or $400,000 and I'll just learn to fly it myself. And yes, you can go and get a type rating. It's quite cheap to do. And you can also be trained in the aircraft and type rated, and off you go. But the problem is you're not a professional pilot, and you know, you're flying a jet, and the jet is easy to fly. But bear in mind, I'm saying it's easy to fly, but I went through commercial pilot training. So I was trained in a certain way. And that really is important. And then your mindset is, well, I'm going to be a professional pilot. So I really need to up my game. I really need to study. I really need to train. I need to do upset recovery training, this, that, the other. You've got a different mindset. when your business or you're not making money to fly, that's not, what you're there for. You've got a business and you just, you have an aircraft because you like flying. It's a hobby. But still, it needs to be approached in a professional manner. And this is my criticism towards pilot owners, is I've seen so many people throughout my career, these pilot owners crash and die and kill themselves. And you can see it coming. You can see it coming. Because their attitude, their mindset, they're like, oh, I own my own jet. Off I go. I can fly my own jet. Nah, you got to be humble. And, flying has to be taken seriously. And this is really, really important. It's like a lot of guys take their golf game very seriously. And what do they do in order to improve? They hire a coach. They go and see the coach on the driving range. The coach tweaks their swing. Then they take the coach with them on the course to see how their game's going. Maybe they get the right equipment. They get custom fit. Well, this is the same approach you need to have with flying. But, flying, you're going up into the air in this aluminium tube, 35,000 feet. This thing can kill you. You can't die playing golf. Yes, of course, you could have a heart attack playing golf. Like you could have a heart attack sitting in your seat on the sofa watching TV at home. But, it's really, really important that if you're going to be a so-called pilot owner, that you do hire a pilot coach that can look over you and fly with you from time to time. It is advisable to take along another pilot with you. And you don't have to pay and tight rate this person. You can pay them a couple of $100 a day to fly with you. There's lots of young people at flight school that have just got their commercial pilot's license. They're looking to do some hour building and that. And I'm sure, they can man the radios and the checklist for you and that. But, still get trained in a certain way and do this professionally, because that will just keep you safer. So that's all from me on this episode of BizJet TV. I'd like to tell you about Quantum Action, which is my podcast, which was originally called Living Outside the Cube. I stopped doing this podcast a few years ago. I decided to resume this. A lot of people have been asking me to do this, so I've been interviewing a lot of business owners and thinkers and movers and shakers in the world. So check out Quantum Action here on YouTube or Rumble. BizJet TV is also on Rumble now, so I encourage you to go over and subscribe over on Rumble, and I'll post the link below for you to do that. And also Quantum Action is both on YouTube, Rumble, and also in podcast format as well. So that's all from Fabrizio Poli on this episode of BizJet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.